This morning, New York City Democratic mayoral nominee Eric Adams is on a mission to reset the city's relationship with business. At last week's SALT conference, he said, quote, New York will no longer be anti-business, and outlined a plan to work with Wall Street to fill job openings with New York City residents and try to reskill the workforce. Eric Adams joins us this morning now on the NASDAQ terrace. It is great to see you.
As well. Good seeing you.
I can't call you Mr. Mayor just yet, but it appears to be on track to do that. But let's talk about the reset of this city, but also the reset with business, because over the past couple of years, as you know, the relationship between business and this city and this the current mayor has been, let's say, politely challenged. How are you approaching this differently?
Well, think about this for a moment. We are the only country on the globe that we have dream attached to our name. You don't have a French dream, a German dream. You have an American dream. We are hardwired to start a business and hope from going from the mailroom to owning a business. We've lost that along the way. And so I have been spending the last few years talking to my business leaders and stating, if I'm fortunate enough to become mayor, we're going to hit reset and we're going to establish that relationship.
We've heard a lot during COVID about people leaving the city, businesses leaving the city, people moving to Florida, moving to different jurisdictions where the taxes are lower and the like. How do you bring those people back?
You know, what's fascinating is that everyone talks about the number of people who are leaving, but they don't look at the subtext, going to the crevices. I actually talk to the people who are leaving from different sectors. They say the same thing. Eric, my city is not safe. I'm paying my taxes, but I'm receiving a dysfunctional product. Right. The prerequisite to prosperity and growth is public safety and justice. We can have them both together. My city is going to be safe to be here.
Let's talk about that safety issue, though, because there has been lots of questions about how you balance these issues of safety and justice and all of these types of things at the same time that you're trying to balance, trying to bring business back.
Right. And what happened, we often go to one extreme or the other. Either we tell our police officers to fall back, don't do your job, or you go heavy-handed. Right. No. Just as I'm doing reset with businesses, I'm doing reset with my police department. I'm telling them this is a new day. The bad guys are watching the good guys squabble with each other. Right. I'm going to have the backs of my officers, but at the same time, I'm telling those who are in my department, policing is a noble profession. If you can't keep up with that nobility, you're not going to be in my department.
How much is it a difference between the leadership in the policing space right now and some of the laws that have changed over the past 2 and 3 years that have changed the incentive system and structure of policing?
A great question. Great. We have to look, you know, we've never looked at the ecosystem of public safety in our country, not only New York. We have to look at that ecosystem. We dropped everything on the police officer. I say no to that. Let's bring in our mental health professionals, our crisis management team. But at the same time, we have to watch what we're doing on the state level and the federal level. That first round of bail reform was a killer. We had robbery on the list. We had burglary on the list. We went back and re-examined that, and that was important. We have to keep making sure we're not going to the extreme, because you can't keep a city safe based on sound bites. It's based on good, sound policies.
I got another question for you, and I want to bring Becky in just a moment, but I have a tax question. AOC, who also represents New York to some degree, or more than to some degree, she's an elected official, wore a dress last week that said tax the rich. Do you subscribe to that policy?
What we must do, and I'm a big believer that, I think AOC and I believe we both want the same things. We just have different pathways to get there. Her mother was a domestic worker or did things in that level. So was my mother. But when you talk about just blanketly saying tax the rich, in this city, we may have 8.8 million people, but 65,000 pay 51% of our income taxes. And if you say to those 65,000 to leave, then we're not going to have the firefighter, the teacher, all of those basic things. No, let's find a way to use the tax dollars. We're wasting tax dollars. We're dysfunctional as a city. We create our crises, and those tax dollars are being wasted. I say, let's make sure we get our house in order through our agencies, and then let's talk about how much money we need to run this city. Right. We have a $98 billion budget. Think about that for a moment. And how much of that are we hemorrhaging? I say no. Let's do a proper analysis and make the real decision based on what we have in front of us.
Hey,
Becky's
Eric.
got a question for you.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
How
Eric,
are you?
Just good. Thanks for being with us today. Just back to some of the problems with crime in the city. When I talk to New York City police officers, they tell me part of the big problem has been the criminal reform laws that were passed by the state. And that it's really frustrating that you arrest somebody and they're back out on the streets a day or two later. It's demoralizing. Those are things that are done at the state level. What can you do to try and work within the bounds of that?
And it's a combination of things. You know, number one, some of the bail reform laws were wrong. But there's something else that's happening that a lot of people are not recognizing. Our judges are not giving bail on cases that they actually can give bail on. And they also not looking at Kendra's law. This is the law that allows the judge to really compel someone to take medication. That's the mental health crises we're seeing on our public transportation system and in the streets. And third, I never want to reach a day that my police officers are going to state, because of what happens in Albany, they're not going to protect our public. I've been frustrated as a police officer on what I witnessed in Albany and on a federal level. When I put on that uniform, the public comes first, and we must always have that mindset.